Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest installment of Cascadia Composers monthly Monday night presentations. I'm Ted Clifford, the president of Cascadia Composers, and thanks everyone for coming. This week we have longtime valued member Mark Vigil here to give a presentation. I know he's University of Oregon graduate and studied with Robert Keir and has given many wonderful presentations in the past. And he's going to talk tonight about his symphonies. So without further ado, take it away, Mark.
Thank you. Most of my composer life, I have concentrated on writing chamber music. But since the days when I was at Cornish, I've always had aspirations, to write a symphony. I just never went there because it was intimidating to me, I guess. And so I have 107 opuses so far. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, I better get going. So 9-10 months ago, I started and I finished it this last Saturday. And it has the introduction and then 4 movements. And by the way, first movement, third movement, and the fourth movement, they're each 10 minutes long. So I was really worried that I might be stretching that with you guys. Might be a little bit too long. The whole symphony is 36 minutes long. And let me see. I'll try to bring up. I'll show you the instrumentation. I spent maybe a month alone just trying to figure out what I wanted, the instrumentation I wanted to use. And I opted to go with what I'm familiar with, like in woodwinds. Like I've written woodwind ensemble pieces, and this is very typical of the instrumentation. But it's also, pretty standard looking, except I have a friend who's a composer in New York, and I was talking to him about it, and he wishes that, because he's written many symphonies, that he wishes that he could have used a flugelhorn. So, I mean, when he said that, it caught my interest immediately. So I used the flugelhorn, and I only have one trumpet, trumpet in C. He told me that he got his symphony performed by one of those orchestras in Ukraine or Bulgaria, and he had a trumpet in D, and nobody there had a trumpet in D, so he had to, rewrite the piece for a trumpet in C. And so I avoided the trumpet in D. And as you can see, I love the combination of contrabassoon and tuba. And you'll see, mostly in the fourth movement. And for percussion, my two favorite symphonies that I grew up with my whole life is Charles Ives' Second Symphony, conducted by Leonard Bernstein, and Brahms's Third Symphony. And so what does that have to do with my choice of percussion? There's just so much to pick from. And again, I'm familiar with all these instruments. So maybe there's too much percussion. And then it was originally written for one harp. But after the first movement, there's a harp solo in the first movement. After I was done, I sent it off to Kate Pettick, and asked her if she could just, read through it. And I'd pay her to do that and just give it to me straight. And she was just wonderful. Her advice, she said that it'd be what I had written would be very difficult for one harpist, but very playable for two. So I added another harp. And the strings, it's a big string section, 12 firsts, 12 seconds, 10 violas. It's a big, the whole thing is a big, big sound. So let me see here. So without any ado, I'll start with the introduction. It's a minute-long introduction, and at the end of it, there's an attacca. So it's supposed to go right into the first movement. Let me see.
Mark, would it be okay to pause for just a second? On the chat, where a number of us were saying there was something where the sound, I think it was clipping a little bit, and then there was a request to ask if we could possibly see the score. I don't know if you have.
I do. Want me to start over, and I'll try my best with doing the score. I might get lost, just to warn you.
Oh, I see.
I can. I'll give it a shot.
Okay, let's see how it goes. But the one thought I have for the sound is I just know that I've looked at it on my Zoom. It may just be that we have the sound that we have, but do you see the setting for original sound for musicians, or have you looked at that before? Because
No.
I know that sometimes Zoom tries to mess with the audio because it thinks it's helping your speaking voice. but it doesn't work for when we're playing music.
How do you get there and how do you do that?
Uh, let's see. It's funny when on my Zoom, it just shows up on the upper left. So I don't have to go anywhere to get to it. You don't see that, I suppose, on yours, do you? If you look in the far upper left portion of your screen.
There's home tools, Symphony #1.
No, okay. Liz is saying it's in settings for audio. So, um,
Tools?
I think you would need. I don't know. No, that looks to me like that's the tools that's on your program or on your computer. I think the Zoom settings would be in a different place than that.
I'm wondering, Mark, if you just put your cursor, your arrow up on your screen sort of towards the top left, if a little pop-up comes up, it may or may not, that says original sound for musicians, on or off, without going into another box.
I wonder if you stop sharing for just a moment and just go back to the regular Zoom window, you might see the original sound button, top left.
Kind of by where it says recording to the left. It may not be on your version of it, I don't know.
Yeah, it says recording. Hi,
And
Paul.
hi, Mark. Nice to see you. Congratulations on this piece.
Thanks.
Do you see something called original sound for musicians? A little box to the left of where the recording has the record button going on?
Mine just says meeting information.
Okay, it doesn't have anything about original sound for musicians there. If you put your cursor up to it, put your arrow. Okay.
If you go into the audio settings, there's a button for original sound.
And that's outside the. You have to go click on your Zoom. Like get back to your home page and go through that way. Is that what you're saying?
You can get to audio settings, bottom left where the mute button is. Immediately to the right of that, there's a little arrow. You can drop that open. It should have a little fly up menu with the audio settings selection. Am I speaking Greek?
Yes, that's right. That's what I have also. It's in the audio section. Click the arrow.
And that opens the settings window, and
Yeah.
you should be in the audio section of settings. And about halfway down under audio profile, there's a button for original sound for musicians. At least in my Zoom.
Yeah, when you click on the arrow, a menu comes up. Can anybody hear me?
Yep.
When you
Oh,
click on the arrow, a menu comes up. You go down to the bottom menu, and there's a thing that says audio settings, and you click that, and then the sum up. That's how it works for me anyway.
Yes, me too.
find it, Mark.
No.
No?
It's
Is
funny.
arrow-
I'm actually not seeing the same thing. I've got a horizontal tray. I'm just trying to navigate it, and we've got a little bit of an echo going again. But I've got my Zoom. Like I can go to preferences. I wonder if that's another way of getting at it. And then audio.
Yeah.
Yep. So Mark, do you see very upper set of menus? There's one called zoom.us, and then meeting, and then view, and then edit, and window.
Yes.
Upper left.
So click on the one that says zoom.us. And if you open that two down, do you see where it says preferences?
Yep.
So click on that. And then on the left panel, side panel, click on audio, which is also, well, three down.
Okay.
And then about halfway down that, you should see the original sound for musicians. And tell me, is it already on or not? Do you see it?
No.
Hmm.
Um,
Do you see audio profile?
yeah,
And then just like 2 lines below that,
this is music and professional audio.
music and professional audio.
Try that.
Show in meeting option to enable original sound.
Yeah,
Yeah, try that.
try that.
Well, is it on or off? You want it to be off.
I want it to be on.
I think
want
you
it
want
to-
it to be on, original sound for musicians on.
Yeah, they
Really?
changed it. Yeah, they
Yeah.
changed it. It used to be off, but now it's on.
They changed it to be less confusing.
Oh, I had it off during the board meeting.
Well, for speaking, it's different, I think.
Yeah. If you're
I see.
speaking, you want it to be off because then it will optimize for your voice and it will try and cancel.
I
other
understand. I
sounds.
understand now. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I don't mute again.
It says original sound off.
So
Did you say off or on?
It says off.
Okay, so we want it to be on. Is it possible to turn it on?
just click it and it should change.
Okay, it's on now.
Okay. Well, let's give it a roll then. Go ahead and share your screen again.
Hi, Jeff. Good to see you.
Hey, can you
Hi, Liz.
You finally got a camera.
I did.
I'm trying to get rid of this screen right here. Can you guys see it?
No, I just see you.
Okay.
I don't see any other screen from your computer. But you're not sharing your screen.
Dang.
So I'd say go ahead and share your screen again when you're ready.
That menu with the share screen button on it has disappeared. It's not on the bottom of or the top of the screen.
Well,
Mhm.
Are you seeing the Zoom call like with the rest of us? Are you seeing?
No.
Okay, so you just need to go back to the Zoom
Okay, there it
window on your computer. You on a Mac, there should be like a Zoom icon in your open programs in the very bottom of the screen. You just select the Zoom.
Okay. Here.
There we go. Awesome.
Okay. Want me to start from scratch again?
Yeah, maybe go ahead and just start the recording and give us a couple seconds to see if there's any difference in the sound.
Okay, here's the intro.
Should we keep going?
Hi, Jeff.
Could everybody please mute?
Any comments?
I thought the sound was better and very, very nice.
Yes.
Well, the party is just beginning.
I like Mark. I really like your texture visions from section to section. You know, a lot of times you just enjoy a sound so much with many variations of that sound, and I like how you're casting the different textural ideas from minute to minute in this first moment.
Thank you.
I like what we call it, hemiola, with a 3 against 2 and or 5 against 3 or whatever you have. I like that.
What do y'all think of a harp solo in the middle of a first movement symphony?
I
I
actually
got
like that. I thought the harp was the most interesting um, feature that you had. I mean, you really pull the harp out as a melody instrument and a feature instrument versus just sort of occasional decoration that you might find in other symphonies.
I noticed that you weren't making so many changes in such a short period of time. The harpist will probably appreciate.
Well, I was telling everybody before you got on that I sent it off to Kate Pettick,
Mm-hmm.
asked her if she'd, you know, put it through the ringer, and
Mark, forgive me, I'm just going to chime in again. I think it's best if everybody stays on mute unless you're speaking, because there's some echoes going on somewhere.
and you notice the tempo was slower when the harp solo started because it was a little bit faster originally, but Kate said, a harpist, for one, it'd be very hard for one harpist to keep up with it at a fast tempo, and it would hurt their hands. So she said it'd be wise to slow it down, and so I did. And then I divided it up between 2 harps, and
I think that was a good move to divide up.
I just had to do a harp solo because uh, you know a harp is like it goes through my blood vein, and you notice too there was a little bit of English horn solo towards the end, and the texture was really uh, I was always told that you can't really use English horn in a full orchestra sound because it just gets drowned out. And so there's really hardly, I mean, there's just barely strings and there's some other woodwinds, but I don't like that personally. I mean, I love the English horn, and I would use it a lot more than I did if I could. But it's just I was just told you just don't do that. English horn is for solo only. But I personally I like to combine the English horn with other woodwinds and get different timbres. But anyway, if you like, I'll move on to the second movement. Uh, I don't know if my sight reading isn't all that good, but
You're doing fine. I mean, from my perspective.
okay. Movement 2, here goes. This is only 3.5 minutes long.
Wow, that was really clever, Mark. The rhythmic, it was really fun.
It's very interesting to have a whole second movement only pizzicato strings.
Yeah.
It's a very cool idea. I'm curious if you had like any sort of extra musical thought behind that, or programmatic, or what inspired you to to pace it with that texture there.
As far as I can remember, I didn't have any extra, programmatic thing. I just, just had an urge to do this, pizzicato strings and just make some music and uh, just let everyone um, uh, let the music be whatever it wants to be for anyone. Everyone.
I think it's a nice sonic break from the other stuff. Sorry for this echo here. I don't know if I should stop or not.
Well, your
And you had such well-placed accents. The first with the bass, and then when the bass just disappeared, and then others, like the and it just was so clever, I think.
Um, I originally wrote this like 4 years ago, 4 or 5, and I sent it off to a publisher in Seattle, and they really liked it. They thought it was too long, and in their estimation, it might not sell. So they were nice about it, though. I mean, they said no, but they were nice about it. And I sent it off to Universal, and they I'm in with those guys, so I can send them anything I want. And anyway, I thought this was a perfect fit for the symphony. It's a scherzo movement.
Have you, Mark, have you gotten any feedback possible fatigue of the string players of playing so much continuous pizzicato over, I mean, 3 minutes, but
Um,
did anybody make comments that made you think that might be a little bit all too
no,
much at once?
no performers, just those guys, you know, at the,
Okay.
I, it's like, I think it's got to be, you know, a piece of, I mean, it's got to be not a problem. It can't be problematic. I mean, it's only 3.5 minutes long, and I spread it out all over the place. So,
Yeah.
n-
I could imagine it being live. I think it would be fun to see it conducted and to actually see the way it's being spread out all over. Uh,
I think, you know, in a nice hall, you know, with a good string orchestra, it would be awesome.
yeah,
I think. I mean, this is a MIDI playback, so
yeah,
uh,
that's
the rhythms will be exact, you know, but I would still prefer human beings, you know, over a machine myself. Mm. So
A great scherzo.
Well, it's certainly no more challenging for the strings than Tchaikovsky Fourth Symphony. That is even longer pizzicato.
really, I didn't know that.
Check it out. It's a whole
I remember,
movement.
I remember,
Pizzicato ostinato.
I remember once because I've written other pizzicato string pieces, and I showed it. Well, I worked with one with Tomas Svoboda, and he suggested that I listen to Tchaikovsky's Fourth.
Good suggestion. Tomas was a wise man.
He was great. I was gonna try and make the effort to go see him, you know, before, you know, and then I got the word, and he is a really nice guy. He's a really nice man. I remember when I was first going my first year at graduate school to U of O. I was there late at night doing my homework or doing my, you know, theory or whatever, and there was a big all Tomas Svoboda concert at Bell Hall. And I walked, the place was packed, you know, and I saw Thomas. I didn't know who he was, and I saw him, and the crowd just spread out like this so he could walk through, like he was John Lennon or Paul McCartney walking through. And I was like, who is this guy? And I asked my teacher, and it turns out that my teacher and Thomas went to graduate school together in Southern California. And he was telling me that Thomas is he's just a super, really nice guy. And he was, you know, he's an amazing teacher, too. I mean, amazing everything. But I miss him a lot. But, so, let me see.
The third movement.
Yeah, let me see. I'm, oh, this is like the second time, you know, I've done Zoom. The last time I did it was the last time I did a presentation, so I'm so sorry. So where am I? Okay. Third movement.
Very beautiful. Mark, what is the meter change in the last measure? I was trying to, I can just see a small score. So you do some meter changes, and I'm trying to figure out your rhythmic structure all the way through. Everything is, I think, it's just so clever. And but what is the very last measure? The meter change, the meter that you have there. You have three.
And in my early days, I was really into mixed meters,
Yeah.
and I to me, it's just making that measure, a certain length, like boom, 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 and so it's here to here. But I think I also I wanted the stresses of there's Thomas used to tell me to not do that. He says, "Why do you want more than one downbeat in a measure?" And I was like, but here, I just that really it's a nuance, of that little stress of 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Plus, it's retarding. So
It seemed, I was going to ask you about the compound meters. It seemed like, I think maybe because of the way the MIDI playback was, it didn't really feel the stresses in a lot of the measures. It seemed like the computer just kind of plowed through those things, but a musician would sense that and give the stresses where they should have been. I mean, I don't know what anybody else thought. I mean,
Well,
um,
it's a slow lyrical movement, so uh,
that's true.
that might be a good thing that it's not heavy on the stresses, because it's I'm singing to you all basically, and
So, so you're choosing to use the various compound meters just because you have you want a measure to be a particular length, and you want the stresses that come with the definition of the meter, not for any other particular reason? Is that the creative
it's
motivation for that?
it's convenient for me. It's convenient, and like I was more interested in the length of the measure, which uh, when I was in grad school, I went to night library and I was looking through scores. And I was looking through a piano score of Stockhausen, and it's like 252 over 4. It's like 252 beats in one measure. I was like, yeah. Uh-huh.
So really, you just wanted the piece broken up in a particular way, that kind of feel that comes with starting a measure and finishing a measure, but you didn't want it to be of equal length. You wanted different
Yeah,
stresses.
I know that's sounds contrary.
No,
Well,
I
I
mean,
it's
it's
nice.
interesting.
It's very nice. Yeah, I
I
like it.
think it might suit the conductor well, because just because it's slowing down to the end, and it's nice little. I never thought of that really. I just thought about ending the piece with um, 7 beats in a bar, uh, which
But you chose to use a compound designation versus just calling it 7/4.
yeah, I would love to call it 7/4, but I got in trouble once. I sent a piece of my music to a professional musician, an ex-principal in the Portland Symphony, and she hated like mixed. I mean 7/4 or 7/8. It's and
Oh my gosh, well, she'd really hate my music then.
Yeah, I think she's a little behind the times.
and
Yeah.
Rob Kier told us in Composer Symposium that that's the way it is. I mean those super awesome musicians, they don't, I don't know, it's just rubs them the wrong way, but you got they sight read,
Because it's hard, that's why, you
sight
know.
reading is a part of their, how they make their living, and it's just easier for them to see a mixed meter, like
Mm.
divide it up somehow.
In this way. Okay, now that is a very interesting thing to know then.
And it's true, it's
Mm.
really true. That sort of stuff happens, and so uh, that was part of my motivation too. I mean, I'd love to put just 7/4 there, um, but uh, in reality, it's just not a happening thing.
Well, but the composer has to use whatever technique gets what he wants from the musicians, right? So if that what gets the result, then that's what gets the result.
Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So let me see here. I'll start. Now here's the fourth movement. I'm sure to get lost in this one. Maybe not. that's my symphony.
Very nice. I hope it's performed. It would just be so fun to watch that. Just
I did not expect that sort of wistful. You know how to describe it. It's so unique, but it's the way you sort of end. It's such a embracing ending somehow. I don't know. I was totally charmed by the end. By the ending, it's totally not what I expected.
have such well-placed contrasts. It's very sparse um, voicing, but it's full. It's and a few spots where, or which movement was it, where it was just getting lush, and but you didn't keep it there. You just kept it more mystical. It just going off into other things. That I just really think that's an art to be able to pull that off, and with all the rhythmic stuff going on, it's just great.
It's not my
The,
turn.
the timbre and texture contrasts,
Yes.
again, the last movement in the outer movements, it just you keep listening to it.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're gonna do next with that.
What I learned, something that I learned from my first symphony, being symphonic, and I really, all along the way, I really wanted to write some chords, with the tonic and a median and a dominant, or just some chords. But it just didn't need them, and I've been thinking and thinking and thinking why, and so there's a lot of doubling at the unison and the octave, and occasionally I doubled the thirds at the third. Well, not I mean, it was rare, but mostly you double at the unison and the octave, and then there's all these different instruments, all these different timbres, and uh, has something to do with the harmonic series. The first, the third, the fifth, blah 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 octave, so on. They're all there in the harmonic series, and then there's all these instruments, all these different instruments playing in unison, and so it somehow it just fills it out. And I think there's one spot where I wrote some chords, some.
And that was nice. It was nice, and then but you didn't stay there, and you went on to something else, and that made everything else nicer. When it wasn't just all the same as a symphonic structure chord. Like you said, you didn't need that. That didn't fit in your piece, and what fit was what you did, and I just hope it's performed. It just would be
Well,
really, really
what,
nice.
what I'm afraid of is nobody ever asks me how come you don't have any extended techniques, and I really want to write music, and so uh, I'm not with it. That's what I think. I'm not with it. Um,
Well, if you were with it, you'd sound like a bunch of other people, right?
Yeah.
Got to be true to
What
yourself.
good is that?
you know,
So I don't. I mean, my style is clearly the kind of style where somebody would expect extended techniques. I think that it would be a kind of a a very odd thing for somebody to say in response. That's just not clearly not what we're about there.
once upon a time, I met John Cage. When I was going to school at Cornish, he was in residence there for a while. And that's just, I mean, all this, isn't it, all this extended technique stuff, come from the whole John Cage aesthetic. Even a toaster, its sound is valid. And I met him though, and they were rehearsing one of his pieces, and uh, I I shook his hand, and you know what I thought about this man? I thought he is a very kind and tender person. You know, he was a really nice guy, but it just blew me away. You know, his kindness, and so
Well, his music is fun to play. I love the Credo and Us, and everybody plays it different. And, and other ones, it's fun.
I, well, I can hardly wait to start on my second symphony.
Yes.
Are you gonna use more chords? I had to ask.
I don't know, but I've already picked out the instrumentation, and it has the same instrumentation as Charles Ives' Second Symphony, but I added tubular bells, and but it's the same thing. You know, I was thinking today, you know, which one do I like most, Charles Ives' Second Symphony or um, Brahms's Third, and I couldn't make up my mind. And I liked Philip Glass's symphonies. I like his whole orchestration thing. So anyway, I
So I really enjoyed this. The last movement in particular, near especially at the end, what you were doing with the strings, with these sort of overlapping off the beat rhythms, that was really nice. Some of this, the kind of vibe of this, I wouldn't say the specifics, but in the general vibe, reminded me a little bit of like Alan Hovhaness, and I was wondering if that was something that someone that you had been influenced by, or you had any connection with, or.
no, I my whole harmonic language thing, I like the modes, and so
Mhm.
I'll go from like C Lydian to E Dorian, and I'll try to make it seamless so you don't notice that it's modulating, and but it's modulating in a modal way,
Mhm.
and uh, you'll never hear a 4 5 7 1 cadence out of me, and I try to make cadences, but I you know I don't go there, you know, the other way. Not that I, you know, feel any disrespect towards it. I don't. In fact, I wrote a tonal piece once, and I thought it was great. I mean, I thought the whole tonality thing was great. And once at school, George Rockbird in Composers Symposium, he said that atonal music, it starts out really big, you know, and then it comes down like this. It funnels down to like a pinpoint. And he said tonality starts at a pinpoint and, you know, fans out like this. And I thought that was really interesting. And he's Mr. Atonal. I mean, plus he is really rude.
Oh, I
Oh,
have
that sounds like there's a story there behind that really rude. But you tell that, I just wanted to say that I did feel though that in terms of root of what route you ended on at the end of your symphony, to me like you came home to the right. However you did it with modal transformations or modulations and however you want to call it, it felt like it came to the right place. So often I've heard, especially in recent years, nominal pieces which seem to me to come to the wrong place. And yours, but not yours.
I wanted to be careful to end it right. You know, I don't want to write this whole piece and then screw it up at the ending. Uh, uh, and
I had a question. Did you have, I forget which movement it was, but did you have a snare drum in any of the pieces? It was just a little hint of a snare.
I tried to make the whole percussion thing, just a little hint, and blend it in. I tried to blend it in and not make it so it steals the show, steals the spotlight. But I wanted it to be there, you know, and I I think I may have used the snare drum just a little in the first movement, but you know, I had all this firepower, and I wanted to, you know, use it in the fourth movement. So, or else why even have it there? And so
It was just nice. It was just a hint. I'm not a fan of snare drum, but it was just a hint and thinking, did I hear that? And I think I heard it in a couple places, and it was just,
there was a bass drum too, but only in the fourth
yes,
movement.
uh,
And there was a crash cymbal and a gong
yeah,
and a tom tom.
yeah.
And so this was all MIDI, you know. I think the real deal, the real thing would be really nice, you know, in a nice hall.
Yes.
And I got a job ahead of me in proofreading this thing. I got to proofread the heck out of it. So when I'm done with that,
I'm not nodding because I noticed problem particularly. I can just imagine. I'm just doing it out saying nodding out of pure imagination.
Yeah. Proofreading is the most difficult part, I think. Ah,
you know, for me too. Well, it's getting close to 9 o'clock, and I'm surprised you guys haven't faded out and, you know, and left, and it's time to go night.
boy, I know Elizabeth would have stayed if we had her the computer sound working better. She wrote a note. So, but thank you very much, Mark.
The sound was just 100% or 200% better after flipping setting. From my perspective, I think you might have had some interruptions come from your source, maybe. Sure, but compared to that sort of underwater sound we're getting before, it was just 2% better.
Oh,
Yeah, it was great. It's great.
I haven't mastered Zoom yet. This is the only time I use it is when I do this.
Has anyone ever mastered Zoom? Maybe Ted has.
Not hardly, but yeah, that original Sound for Musicians setting was the deal. There was some kind of something clipping the sound every once in a while that kept going, and I don't know what that was, but it was a minor thing.
The original sound thing, that wasn't there the last time I did this, which I think was 14 months ago.
Might not have been. It was something that they introduced because, you know, they started by thinking they were so clever by trying to optimize for speaking by minimizing all the other non-human voice sounds. And so by doing that, they messed up what your experience would be if you're listening to music. And so they had to make that setting.
What they do and what they're still doing is the human speech. Your ability to comprehend human speech is packed into about a 2 or 3 kilohertz range, and they just get rid of everything else. If you noticed that there was some bass in here, but you couldn't really hear it. There was a line of double basses, but we didn't get to hear it. And I have to think there's a better solution for this. And since I'm, you know, a retired software engineer, I'll do some investigation. Because, you know, this,
Yeah,
there ought to be there's
good.
nothing that should be able to stop a high fidelity signal from coming through in a meeting with 10 people in it. There's no technological reason that shouldn't be possible.
Get on it.
Have you guys heard of, is it Jack Trip? What is that? There's a ensemble, remote ensemble enabling thing that came out with the last 6 months or so. Is that the name? Jack Trip? Is anybody else on my page?
That might have been a different thing. That was for a group to play together that was somehow was supposed to get out of the MIDI latency, or excuse me, the latency over the internet issue, for you to be able to play together online.
Yeah, there's collaboration platforms, and it seems like that should work.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know. Yeah, if you find something, send a suggestion.
Yeah, I'll see what I can figure out.
Yeah, please, by all means. Thanks to Mark for presenting tonight. It was really wonderful.
Thanks so much.
Very much enjoyed it.
I know there's like an icon to do this, but I'm just gonna actually clap my hands. Right?
Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Bravo.
Thank you.